Typically, when you hit rock bottom, you spring right back. In my case, I stayed there for a long time.
Hidden lightning, silent thunder, still wind, quiet storm.
Every night, as I chugged thousands of calories of sugar into my innards while torturing my eardrums, I kept hoping that things would get better, just to be discouraged once again when the next day proved to be just as crappy. Through this time frame, I have very little memory of anything that happened, even if I think hard. I was determined to forget a lot of what I felt. I basically go blank from late January up till June. I have some memories, but nothing is exactly linear. I remember that in late March I met my first serious long distance girlfriend. We lasted about 3 weeks. I also remember that on April 17th I traded the Maxima for the red truck. Maybe I thought the truck would make me happy. Maybe I thought the girl would make me happy. Little did I know I couldn't be happy so long as I hated myself as much as I did. Obviously, my decisions during this time became quite impulsive, so saving $1 proved to be a huge challenge. Thinking back, everything that happened feels like it was maybe 5 years ago, when it hasn't even been a year yet. Although I can't recall much of anything just by memory, if I hear a certain song, or drive down a certain road, eat a certain snack, smell a certain smell, or weirdly enough feel a certain temperature, I basically have a flashback to what would be considered a memory to a normal person. I remember that I would have flashbacks of seeing my dad in the ICU room at the hospital. Sometimes I'd sit in my recliner and just break down and force myself to basically have a life flashing before my eyes moment with memories of my dad instead of myself. I know it wasn't healthy, but sometimes the only thing that could make me feel better was if I made myself feel worse. Sorry if this doesn't make much sense, but it's just hard to put something into words that you don't completely understand yourself. So at some point in May, I concluded my junior year of high school. The first memory I have of summer was meeting another long distance girlfriend. She was 3 days older than me, and she had a 6-year-old son. No, that's not a glitch in the video. She had a 6-year-old son. Boy, I sure can pick out the winners, can't I? Of course, it didn't last long. Big surprise. Also around this time, I had an ingrown toenail surgery, and at one of the appointments I reached my peak weight of 297 pounds. It could have been higher at some point, but that's the only figure I had to work with. That number only made me hate myself more. The summer moved along fairly slowly. Around the middle of June, my brother asked me if I wanted my dad's old truck, and if I did, I could fly down and stay a while, then drive it back. I bought my plane ticket, and in the last week of June, I went down to Texas. I only got maybe 2 pictures of the whole vacation. It was probably the best thing that could have happened to me at the time. I got to leave everything stressful behind and spend a week just relaxing and having fun with my brother and his family. I can actually remember a lot of the things we did if I think about it. I remember I got lost in the Houston airport and ended up walking out the wrong side. I got to see my brother's workplace and sit around there for an hour or so. I remember that we spent the whole Sunday in Galveston at the beach. I also remember going to Fry's, the biggest computer parts store I've ever seen, and getting some good barbecue at a place called Rudy's, which was also a gas station. I can safely say that the vacation was the turning point for me and my depressing life. While I was staying down there, I was only eating 3 meals a day, and I was consuming basically no pop like I would be doing at home. I got home and realized that I'd lost a few pounds on the trip. That was when I realized that I didn't have to ever be 300 pounds. For the first time in a long time, I took my life into my own hands, and I made a change. I started what would be considered a fairly unhealthy diet of basically starving myself and chain drinking diet soda, but I quickly began shedding the weight. The summer was turning to be in my favor, and I was starting to be happy. Then, 3 weeks after I got back from my vacation, my grandfather passed away. He basically just died of old age. We'd put my grandparents in the nursing home just 2 weeks before. Turns out his body was just to the point of shutting down, I guess. He was 81. With what happened after my dad died, I knew I couldn't let this bother me. I knew if I let his death get to me, I would probably never recover. So I basically shut myself down emotionally. And yeah, it's not so healthy, and it may seem pretty heartless sometimes, but it's what I've got to do to protect myself. To make matters worse, right after my grandparents were put in the nursing home, Mom and Marshall got married and he moved in. As much as I hated the situation, I suppose I handled it a lot better than I expected to. With my grandfather gone and my grandma in the nursing home, I had the responsibilities of 2 adults thrown upon me, which I'm still struggling to keep up with. I will admit I do fail quite often, but I'm doing the best that a stupid kid can do with no real world experience. So with that, everyone, this is the end of Chapter 5. Tune in tomorrow for the final tidbit of my story, covering the last 6 months of my life. This story has a happy ending, I promise.